Hi everyone, welcome back to Gears at the Simracing podcast, a hiatus of 6 months that take a little bit due to F1 preparations for this year, a lot of work on the Silverstone on real life that take me a little bit off the virtual life. But to start it, nothing better that have a Sim Expo that's gonna happen in America, and with me I'm gonna have George to talk everything about the event. Thanks so much and welcome to the podcast, George.
Thanks, Hugo. I'm super excited to be here. Yeah, let's get into this.
To start it, I think you're gonna take a big gamble making the first big sim gaming expo in America, no?
Oh yeah, definitely. I can say that this has been quite a risk, but it's something that I really believed so strongly in, especially being a part of this community and just enjoying simulation, loving this stuff for so many years. I just from the fan perspective, I kept looking and waiting and wondering like when is something going to happen here and just nothing was happening. So I decided to take that plunge and take that step forward. And I'm really excited and happy to be bringing the Sim Gaming Expo to life. So I think it's going to be an exciting event, and really looking forward to opening doors on September 5th.
First question is why Chicago?
Yeah. Well, I live here. This is my hometown, born and raised. So I think logistically, it made a lot of sense for me. We actually were able to find an amazing venue with the Schaumburg Convention Center.
Mhm.
It's actually about 20 minutes west of Chicago O'Hare International Airport. So, there's so many direct flights coming into O'Hare. O'Hare is an international shipping hub, making logistics and things like that for exhibitors very convenient. Um, yeah, and just again, like being close to home, it made sense because going and visiting it, the venue and setting everything up, it just worked out a lot better. We'll see if the show grows and we outgrow that facility. Maybe the show goes on the road, but we have to get there. We have to get this first one under our belt.
Yeah, you have just a couple of days of preparation,
Yeah.
and I think I can see the buzz via online on social media, LinkedIn. You can see that is a creation of a buzz, and I believe as the first one in America is a lot of to tackle. It's a huge country. A, it's a huge opportunity, you know.
Yeah, I definitely think that the opportunity is there, especially because it hasn't been done before. We're also doing things a little bit differently. This show, even though it will have a very heavy sim racing focus, it does want to celebrate all genres of sim, and so that's kind of like our motto is that we're bringing all genres of sim under one roof. So we will have some flight simulation, we'll have some trucking, train, sci-fi, other, as I mentioned, other genres of sim, and there's really something for everyone. So I definitely think that this is going to be a unique opportunity for sim enthusiasts to come together to also try out different gear and try out other areas of sim that maybe they haven't been exposed to or they were curious about, but they were like, I'm not ready to necessarily buy the gear, but now they can really dive into it and really experience some of these other titles that are out there, and maybe they pick up a second sim and they get into something else. So I just think it's going to be really cool, and like I said, something that hasn't been done before.
That's perfect. One of the question is with the evolution of talking about sim racing. Do you think that will what you're gonna have gonna be something unique for the public in America, or is still gonna be a little bit nothing new coming to the expo?
Well, I think that this definitely is the testing grounds for an event of this type. I mean, as you know, there is the Sim Racing Expo in Germany. It's been around for 10 years. It's gained so much traction, and it's obviously needed. And then we have a Flight Sim Expo here in the United States that's been doing really well. Um, Kind of merging these worlds together, I think, is a new concept, but an exciting one and important because, for example, as you know, there are multiple companies such as Logitech, Thrustmaster, Turtle Beach, Moza, that they have equipment for both flight and racing. So this is an opportunity where those companies can showcase their entire ecosystems in one show versus having to kind of like separate things and this way they can target all sim enthusiasts, at the same time under one roof. So I think that that's something unique. I think that if this show, and that is my belief, that it's going to take off and become popular, I feel that you're going to start to see other shows incorporating this approach. I really do.
I think when you've mentioned the flight simulator sim racing equipment from Logitech, and I think Moza announced now the something with motorbike racing. I think they just put something that they're gonna announce very soon. And I think we have forgot that all these brands they have one gender of simulation that has been growing up, that is farm sim. I think the
Yeah.
grow up on farm sim, and you see that one in streams is being huge.
Yeah.
I'm never dive in that type of games. I try one or two times, of course, in controllers or keyboards, and I found it a little bit hard for me, and probably was not my kind of area expertise. But I've been seeing that is growing up. The views being social media on YouTube, they are growing up. You see, like Spark, that is one of probably the big content creators in terms of trucks farming. He have
Mhm.
a huge viewership. So that's I think doing a sim expo when you tackle about that little gender, I think would be really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that, we're usually labeled, niche. Our category, the simulation category, is always kind of given that label. But despite
Not
that,
anymore. I think I
no, I
think I
know.
think not anymore.
I,
We are
I
not a niche anymore, and you see
yeah,
that.
exactly. And we have such large communities, and I think that this is just, as I said, it's an opportunity for everyone to kind of come and celebrate together. I think that as sim enthusiasts, there's kind of this common understanding that we are all looking for the same thing. We love immersion, we love the hardware, we love the technology, we love the experiences that, you know being in the driver's seat or the cockpit bring, and there's really nothing like it. So um, yeah, it's just a great opportunity. As I said, it's a different kind of a fresh approach, if you will, and one that I think people are going to get behind, and we're going to see this thing continue to grow over the next several years. So we're really looking forward to
And we
bringing
are
this
here
to
for that.
everyone. Yeah, yeah, it's going to be great.
Unfortunately, I cannot go this year, but with a lot of sad. Uh, as we mentioned, Silverstone is taking a little bit of a tool. We had the Silverstone Festival preparation for the first or the comeback of European Le Mans. That's quite big for us. And after we have British touring cars, so September tends to be a little bit of a
Yeah,
killer on our
yeah,
hand. But let's talk about these media partners. You have SimStaff, that is one of our great friends, always working with such a big company that have a big name in terms of sim racing in Europe.
yeah. Josh from SimStaff, I mean, fantastic. I mean, we actually met him when I traveled to Dortmund a couple years ago, and obviously when this show came up, we wanted to connect with them. So yeah, they'll actually be our staffing partner for the show, and they're working with a number of exhibitors to provide equipment and personnel for the event. They actually also assisted us with our recent challenge series, the online qualifiers that we have, which is basically the main flagship competition of the
Mhm.
event. So we had some of their staff members assisting as race control, which was very helpful. They'll likely continue to do so for our finals at the expo, and yeah, we're just excited to have them there again. Like, things that can help exhibitors logistically and make the experience that much easier for them is just a win. So we wanted to connect with a company like SimStaff because we knew that they have so much experience in this space, and we wanted to have the right team helping our exhibitors.
And Overtake is your media partner for the event, a German
Yeah,
company, quite
yeah,
interesting. The
yeah.
first Sim Expo in America, and you're going to take Overtake, always working with them.
You know what? It's been fantastic. I actually, so I when I attended the Sim Racing Expo, I had the opportunity, because we were already kind of communicating online, but I had the opportunity to visit their offices in Cologne, and we had a great conversation. We just talked about the future of the sim racing industry, our event, and just other things. And the conversation was very positive, and honestly, I believe that we were aligned on so many levels right from the beginning that it just felt like a perfect fit for this show. And so we've been working really closely with them. They've been producing stories. They'll actually be there physically at the event. They're going to have a booth which will serve as like the main central hub for people to
Mhm.
gather and connect. We have a number of content creators, so we feel like the Overtakes booth area would be, again, like that hub where creators can say, "Meet me at, you know on Saturday at one p.m." and then that would probably take place at the Overtake booth. They'll also be handling our main stage. So one of
Mhm.
their staff members will be moderating various discussion panels, basically being the hosts for our media stage. And
Okay.
then again, like, you're going to see some great content coming from the Overtake team during the event and obviously post event, because yeah, they're going to be talking with so many brands. It's going to be great. Yeah, but Overtake's been fantastic.
That's great. And in terms of the big surprise of companies, will be Podium One. Could not miss. Probably the biggest in terms of now in America grow
Yeah.
in terms of as company. And of course, you have Tony Kanan with SimCube. That is one of the new partnerships that SimCube
Yes.
have. It always having such a big IndyCar name with you guys.
I mean, it's to be honest, it's a little surreal. I grew up watching IndyCar from a very young age, and so I watched the kart series, and so I obviously saw Tony Kanaan when he came into the IndyCar series from the beginning, and just kind of following his career. And then I was actually at Indianapolis when he won his 500. So it's just it's just special. And also, like, the other connection is during COVID, when the real world drivers were looking to stay busy and kind of jumping into sim racing. Tony came and ran a couple races in my league, which is the Lionheart Racing Series. So that was, again, a very, very special time.
Mhm.
But, again, at that time, I was like, well, I didn't know if this would actually be happening. I mean, I had aspirations and thoughts about creating this event, and that, those ideas took many different forms until finally, like, where we're at right now. But just thinking back to when I took my first laps on iRacing, like, I would have never believed that I'd be doing something like this, and then to have a legend like TK, be able to take time out of his busy schedule to say, yes, I want to be there. It's just, I mean, it's amazing. I really, it's really hard to put it to words, but I'm super excited, and I know that the fans and other enthusiasts are going to be equally excited just to have an opportunity to just to meet someone like that, because these guys are our heroes. I mean, this is what we're trying to do when we're sim racing, or we're, flight simulation. Like, we're trying to emulate what our heroes are doing, and there's really nothing like it. We, for example, myself, like, I'm never going to go 230 miles an hour down the front stretch into turn one at Indy. But, this is as close as I can get. But again, like someone like TK, these are the people that, at least for me, and I'm sure for many people, these are the guys that we look up to and we admire so much. And we're trying to, with sim racing, we're trying to just capture that little spark, that little piece of what these guys are doing in real life. And like I said, it's just special, and I'm so excited to meet him in person. I've seen him in person, but to physically, this is something on an entirely different level. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. So kudos again to SimuQ, because they were a part of that as well. There were whispers of maybe, TK being able to come, and then finally, they let me know, like, it's for real, like, he's going to be there. So we were so excited to be able to announce that yesterday.
That's awesome. In terms of, you think Podium will bring Suelio Almeida? As
I
they
hope,
been sponsor him on the IMS Hyundai?
yeah, yeah, I hope so. So Podium One, this partnership kind of came together late, and
Okay.
so Corsair for Business is going to be exhibiting at our show, and that was something that was there from the beginning, but they wound up expanding their space, and so they're collaborating with Podium One, and they'll have about 1,800 square feet of space. It's
It's
going to be a
huge.
huge booth. And so now Podium One, finally, that they're committed and they're on board, they're going to be bringing, I think, a number of their high end sims. So I had the pleasure of meeting Swelio in Dortmund, and then saw him again at the PRI show in Indianapolis, and that's where I was able to also talk with the owners there at Podium One. And I wasn't sure that they were going to be able to make it, and then finally we got the word that they would be teaming up with Corsair. So yeah, just super excited. I mean, they're huge. They're probably the biggest distributor here in America. So yeah, it's just another great name to add to the board of those that have already come on board here. Yeah, super excited to have Podium One.
And outside of the spectrum of sim racing, because we've been always, when it comes to
Yeah,
sim, we always tend to go and jump in sim
yeah.
racing. Uh, from brands that support like truck racing or farm racing or even flight simulators, uh, which brands you going to bring that's going to be probably one of the tops that you think?
Yeah, so Giant Software is definitely exhibiting in their own booth. Giant Software, as you know, are the makers of Farming
Yep,
Simulator, which is extremely popular, and they're also working. I believe it's Straight Four Studios, if I'm not
one
mistaken, and
hundred
they're
percent.
yes, they're
That's
working.
where I came to.
Yeah, they're working on a sim racing title, which is so cool. I mean, it's awesome. But in terms of other flight sim stuff, so there is a collaboration with GTR Simulator, who they have their own line of flight sim products. And again, that's another
Mhm.
brand that does racing and flight. So they're teaming up with Moza to provide flight controls in a separate activation area.
Okay.
Um, we have some other motion sim companies. So Simcraft, they do racing primarily, but they're also going to be working with looks like probably Eagle Dynamics with DCS, and they're going to have flight controls. They'll have a motion flight simulator. We're also kind of working on finalizing the deals. We're confident that it's going to be a go, but we've been talking with Turtle Beach, and again, like if they come on board, they would be providing flight controls for our. We have an area for PC gaming, basically like a LAN setup with like 15 computer stations, and so 7 to 8 of those would be dedicated to flight. The remaining would be dedicated to racing. So Turtle Beach might have a big presence there.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. But flight is definitely going to have a presence. Maybe not as big as we would have liked, but if you're before I forget, Scalarchy Electronics is going to be present, and they will have a huge. It's like an Airbus, the full cockpit, like the replica of a commercial airline. I believe it's the Airbus 330.
Okay.
So that's something, if you're into that, you definitely do not want to miss, because that's going to be a special treat. Yeah, yeah. So we've got some flight. Like I said, we'd love to get more. We'll work on it for next year. But yeah, there's definitely something there for you if you're interested in that type of sim.
Super. In terms of the space you are, as you were talking about, is a new baby, so we are not expecting the crack straight away and having the affluence that probably everyone was expecting. But what is the numbers that you think that's going to be the goal to achieve for the first
Yeah,
Sim Expo?
yeah. We would love to have. I mean, I'd love to have 3,000 people there.
Mhm.
We're probably a third of the way right now. But as you know, there are many people who wait, and they wait to the last minute. They're figuring out their plans, which is understandable and fine. And then also people, they can, and most likely they will be buying tickets at the door. So I think, again, I've talked with the exhibitors, and it seems like there is an understanding, which is great, that hey, this is a first year show, and it's going to take some time to build up, and they're willing to grow with us. That's the impression that I'm getting from our exhibitors, which is a relief, because they have invested a significant amount of time and energy and finances to be able to exhibit at the show. And so we really, we've done as much as we can on our end with the resources that we have.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it's going to be a really great first year show. You know what I mean? With those things in mind, um, yeah, it's kind of hard, right? Coming into this from the first time, like I don't have images and video from a previous year. So in some instances, I feel like it's very hard to kind of tell that story or be able to show exactly like what this is all
Percent.
about. So what we're going to see is we're going to see some amazing content coming out of this first year. Like we have just a ton of content creators and special guests that will be present at the show. They've already they've been telling me like I'm going to be walking through and doing interviews, and there's going to be so much content just kind of just flooding the internet, the space for a while. And I think that after this first year, for many people and even for some of the businesses that were kind of on the fence and they're like, well, maybe next year, it's going to be like that big like aha, it's going to be that big aha moment, and they're going to say, well, okay, I get it, I understand. And so we'll be waiting and we'll be ready for them for year two. But for everyone who comes for the first year, they're going to say, well, yeah, we knew it, and I think I think they're going to have a lot of fun. So this is really, maybe it sounds a little, I don't know if cheesy is the right word, but I feel like we're we're on the steps of making history. This is something again that's entirely new. It's never been done before in this way. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's only ever a first, right? So if you want to be a part of the first and be a part of the show's future, um, then definitely, get down here and come and meet everybody and have a good time.
Yeah, I agree because you take, like you said, the gamble of being the first one to
Yeah.
do this way. You mentioned already the Sim Expo in Germany, that is already 10 years. So on the first year, they went the same way that you went. The things didn't went so well. It's always a way to improve, but you're just gonna know why, on when, or all we need to improve after you've done the first.
Yeah.
So I think you need to do it. You need to enjoy it. I believe you have a great audience in America. America is probably, in terms of parts of the world, it will be one where the sim racing is growing to huge levels, for different reasons, of course. But I believe that's going to be a success. And talking about success, we need to talk about how can we support, be you or be me. Supporting us is very easy. Click the like button, share, see the video. You know that every time that you like, subscribe, you help me, and that's helped me to sponsor drivers. We had great days ahead now after this podcast is recorded. Hugo Schwartz, Jude Peters, they're taking Spa over now on the Le Mans cars, LMP4, LMP3s. Yeah, they're going to do Silverstone too. You had rally drivers that have been sponsored by us. It's been so many things that one of them I cannot disclose yet, but that is awesome. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and of course, you can always support Sim stuff. And George, how can we support you a part of Go to the Sim Expo?
Yeah, you know what? I would say just talk about it,
Okay.
and when we post our content, or like for example, we have a competition area where we'll have 15 cockpits. We're going to feature a number of sim races throughout the weekend that will be broadcast. Like, give us a like, give us a follow, watch, just tune in, and we'll be recording all of the panel talks and discussions, which we're going to attempt to live stream. If not, we'll definitely upload those. But just, follow along, and maybe again, just support the brands that are coming. Like, let them know that if you think that this is a great idea, it's something that's important to you, even if you can't come, just help get the word out there. Really, I think is a way that people can support. Yeah, just keep the conversation going, as you mentioned. Um, yeah,
You have great support from a lot of big names on sim racing. I already saw SimPit is one of them. You have Lawrence Tuswoza that's already announced that will be part. So I think in terms of even sim racers from this side of Europe traveling, you're gonna get a big name. So it's quite going to be a quite good event. And I know that you have Sim Expo after in October. That probably could be one of the key issues of not having so many persons traveling from Europe. But I believe, as you say, as soon as you kick out the first event, as soon as everyone see that it's a completely different spectrum of simulation, I think after the balance will go 50-50, and I think it's going to be a success. I can put my word on that.
I love it, Hugo. Well, thank you. I definitely appreciate that. I mean, I'm all in. I'm all in. This is a situation where I'm giving this my 100,000 whatever percent. Like, I'm all in. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. And I definitely, I want this to succeed, especially coming from someone who's just been a part of this for over a decade. I absolutely love this stuff, and really the whole point of this is that I wanted to share this with other people. Of course, our peers who love this stuff just as much as we do, but also help introduce it to an entirely new, group. There are people, again, like, they've kind of seen what we've done, and maybe they're curious about it, but they've never really, had the opportunity to try it. And so this is that place where people can come in and be like, all right, let me jump on this simulator. Let me see what it's all about. And I honestly, again, I think that people will be who are exposed to this stuff, they'll see it and they'll fall in love with it the same way that all of us have. And I think that's the way that we can help support the industry, help it
Mhm.
grow, and help this community grow. And again, as we talked about at the beginning, like, push this genre, push our passion beyond that niche category, which already we talked about. It's kind of breaking those barriers down, but there's so much potential here. And again, with like sim racing and flight, when you think about things like STEM, colleges with their esports programs, they want so desperately to incorporate a true curriculum behind their esports programs. Well, what better way to do it with motorsports or aviation? Like, other traditional forms of esports, I mean, there's nothing against them, but I don't think that they have science, technology, engineering, and math behind them the way, you know motorsports and aviation does. So those are some things, again, where, helping to grow this community, it adds so much more to, it just branches out in so many different ways. And I want this show to be a part of that growth and help support those other initiatives. And I believe that we can do it together. But again, like, everything, like, the stage is set, we've done all our homework, it's in the people's hands. So in order for this show to endure and to continue on, it's really up to the people right now. So
Okay.
yeah, I guess that's the best way that you can support as well, is to really have your voices be heard by showing up. Um, I mean, it's the reality. This is, of course, a love letter to simulation from me to everybody, but there's also the reality that there's a business side to it, and the costs are, they're significant, putting an event like this
Okay.
together. And yeah, I just want us to be in a position to be able to do it again and again and just grow this thing out and really, yeah, just to keep the show going. So we'll I know we'll get there, but we like I said, we got to get this first one done and
100%.
yeah,
And let me now to start wrapping up everything. Let me talking about the future that you think going to happen with the sim racing. You talk about one subject that come now on the back of my mind, that is the involving of college or high schools, and you know, in America when we talk about that, we're talking about a huge. You see that one on the level of sports, the level of different competitions that they do in high school. You think sim racing will be something that can be part of that?
absolutely 100%. I think one of the things though that we have to do probably as an industry is find ways to lower the barrier to entry because that usually is the pain point for example, like colleges or high schools, because it's not just a computer and a keyboard and a mouse. It's all the peripherals. It takes up more space. So we have to find ways to make this more accessible to a wider market. And I believe that we are starting to see the birth of this because we're seeing more and more companies that are entering into this market. And
Mhm.
so that what that does is now you create more products, the revenues, it just fuels the industry, which allows these companies to be able to do more. So I definitely think that we are going to see it. I think there's definitely room. I mean, when you think of competition, it's not just a keyboard and mouse. You're using your hands, your feet, everything. There's, you the setups, like the engineering side of it. There's so many aspects that you can there's nothing more pure than motorsports when it comes to competition, in my opinion, and it's
Okay.
it's it's amazing. And I think that if, as a whole, the schools and the industry can kind of overcome some of those challenges that I mentioned with that barrier to entry, I think that it's just amazing. And racing is for everyone. You know what I mean? It's like when you think of the genre, and it's something that you can introduce people at a very young age, and then there's just so much potential.
I agree with you. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
racing sometimes is more pure in the low levels of competition than on the high ends of competition. You when you want to see a pure racing, and first I talk for me because, as I mentioned, be part of Silverstone. You will go from competitions that are the high ends, like talking MotoGP, F1 weekends, where you have a huge movement, to weekends that happen now, like the BRSCC or 750, that are small competitions, more amateur levels. But the races that I enjoyed the most from the last weekend was the Ford Fiesta competition. Kids with
yeah.
14, 17 years old, they throw the cars in any way. They just go for the maximum of what they can do. Of course, is a lower budget series, so it's easier for them probably to take the risks that you could not take in a higher series. Otherwise, you lose your seat.
Right.
So, but that is so pure. See that type of racing and all all the dedication go from the amateur level to a professional level. And I believe, like you say, if high school programs, when they have these American, like as you mentioned, the programs, if they start using sim racing as an option, I think will be great for not only for us to see more competition, but for sim racing grow. More
Yeah.
exposition you have, more grow you're gonna have, more evolution you're gonna have, and we saw that when after the COVID, as soon as
Oh
COVID
yeah.
happened, was probably the biggest boom that you have in sim racing, when suddenly sim racing was everywhere. And I think I don't know about you, but me, I had my wheel on a corner before the COVID started, and after when you are on COVID, that all of that came out from the shelves, and all of that went back to the rooms, and the room that was I don't know what was we put there before, bags, and suddenly was a room just dedicated to sim racing.
Nice. Yeah, I was still kind of involved because I was running my league, so it was, obviously there were changes, but for the most part, I think I don't know, it was kind of business as usual. But no, it was very, very exciting to see the growth. Something positive to come out of that troubled time. And yeah, I think that we're going to see again like so much growth there.
Mhm.
And as you know, like people go from sim to real. So again, like what gets started at a very young age could be like the next, maybe the next champion in a top
Exactly.
series somewhere. That's the reality of it. It again, I just the more people that we can introduce to this, you know, to this community, to this, I don't even know if that's the right word, hobby, but I'd rather call it a passion because again, when you really get involved with this, it just grabs a hold of you. It just doesn't let go. But the more people we can introduce to this, I think the better. And again, I think it'll just fuel the growth of the entire industry.
Exactly. And then, in terms of persons jumping from sim racing to real, sometimes we is a lot of names that we don't realize that are doing the jumping. And because after they are already doing for 2 or 3 years, we don't see that they start from sim racing. You had I interviewed Philip Albuquerque last year with Random Callsign. We're talking about sim racing, and we was joking, and now one of his teammates on European Le Mans is Sam Bolowski. So that is a Turkish sim racer that made the jump. So after we have all the drivers that are sport like Jude Peters, Hugo Schwartz, Deegan Fairclough, that somehow they start from sim racing, and or sim racing give them the next jump. Deegan won the Rocket, went to F4, and after he's doing F3. We sport Thomas Berman with material from ImSim that help in preparation. He just have a pole position, and he used my logo on the car. You have Jude Peters that jump 2 years ago was on a sim, super fast, and now you get the podiums in Le Mans on the Ligier LMP4. Hugo Schwartz, the same thing. Podiums on GB3, podiums on LMP3. I can go with, again, more
Yeah.
names. Aiden that I sponsored to with probably the I will put a picture for you to see a huge, probably a little bit cringe in a way, but a huge bumper sticker on the car, and a second season on Rallycross, and is already on front of the championship. You have Lewis Austin again with the logo. So it's a lot of sim racers that are doing the jump, but because they don't have the exposition, for example, that have a Super GT or a Jimmy Broadbent, we don't see how they are doing,
Mhm.
or in terms of social media, we don't see but
Right.
they are winning, and they go and they are, or if they are not winning, they are competitive. So I believe that sim racing is not a tool that's gonna make you be fast, but is a tool that if you use on the right way, you're gonna learn a lot, and after that can be used for
Yeah.
jumping from one side and vice versa.
Absolutely. And it's a testament to those developers who are making these sims. How
Mhm.
how realistic that they are at this point. And as you mentioned, there's nothing like actually being in the car, but it's a great kind of like starting point where you can turn a lot of laps and it's not as expensive as being in the car for real. But
100%.
yeah, but it's definitely, again, it's a testament to the realism that we're seeing from these modern sims.
It's when I don't know, when was your last track day?
Oh, track day. Well, I did like a driving experience. It was a couple years ago at the Chicagoland Speedway. It was a while ago. It was kind of like a detuned, some type of open wheel car. It wasn't an Indy car, but it was fast. It got like the 165 miles an hour. It
Yeah,
was
but
pretty cool.
and after it became that part that we, for example, we've been on now in the summer, it's too hot, you go, for example, I've been doing some track days, you do 3-4 laps in like tracks like Silverstone or Donington Park, and your tires get too warm, you need to cool down if you don't want to take risks, so you are there and you do 3-4 laps, you stop to 3-4 laps. On a sim you're gonna have a constant 1 hour that you're going to be able to do your lap. So if you make that preparation before you go on your track day, when you do that 4 or 5 laps, that is what you're going to be allowed to do. And after you're going to be taking the maximum, because you're going to come prepared to
Yeah.
know, and you're going to know that you're going to know, you should know the track already from the bottom of your heart. You should already been prepared. So I believe that sim racing is not anymore a simple mere tool of us just getting our immersion, but I think is more a tool for drivers to keep getting on the edge. You see Max
Yeah.
Verstappen doing sim racing because
Oh
you
yeah.
want to, you want to be competitive, and you want to keep that competitiveness. So I believe that sim racing is here to stay. But one question to finalize is, how close in percentage you think sim racing is to the real world?
Well, that's a good question. I think obviously real world motorsports is the pinnacle. I mean, I think our being fans of real world motorsports is what also drives us to sim racing. So, I mean, of course, it's kind of the top of the mountain there for us. But um, not being a professional motorsports driver, it's kind of hard to make those comparisons. But from like again, like the time where I did like that driving experience, the Chicagoland Speedway is on the sim. So driving around the track and just I'm like, wow, this looks pretty much the same. The only difference was that you sit so low in the car, the banking, you're actually kind of look up and like, oh wow, like that was something that in the sim like that didn't necessarily translate. Because again, you're tilted and you're looking at just it was a pretty cool experience. But yeah, it's really hard for me to say because again, like I'm I haven't had many like track days. I'm haven't raced other than like carts and things like that. But I don't know. They're both amazing in their own right. You know what I mean? And I think that because of the advancements in sim racing that we've seen, those worlds are kind of blending a little bit closer together than we've ever seen. And I think that that's really special. And again, like the fact that it has provided an opportunity for people with dreams and aspirations of being a real world motorsports driver. And again, like as you know how inherently expensive racing is, it has provided some opportunities for people who have been extremely talented on the sim racing side and dedicated themselves there to find opportunities to actually make it into real world motorsports. So I think yeah, in that regard, it's probably closer than it's ever been. But yes, I mean, the ultimate is, of course, the real world motorsports, and the beauty is that we get to experience, that little bit of it, that taste, and it's again, it's probably as real as it's ever been. And of course, as things continue to progress, we'll see how much closer that those worlds, begin to combine. And yeah, hopefully, like again, shows like this and the other shows that are out there, helping to support this industry. Like, let's see what we can do together as an entire community to kind of like push. Let's raise the bar a little bit more and see what comes out of all of this.
Exactly.
And yeah, who knows what we'll see in the next 5 to 10 years where the technology will take us. But I'll I'll definitely be here waiting and watching and being a part of it. So yeah, I'm excited what the future will be bringing.
Perfect, George. Thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast. And I think we are in days of do the first Sim Expo. So I
Yeah,
issue the best for, and like I say, this is going to be the first step for more years to come. And let's
thank
hope
you.
that next year I will be there to enjoy
Yeah,
it with you.
yeah, I would love that. I'd love to have you and welcome you to the show. That's the goal. That's the goal is to do this year after year. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this first one goes. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot of things and there'll be challenges and hurdles that we'll have to overcome. But again, I think that the stage is set, everyone's ready, the excitement is building up, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So September 5th through the 7th, the Schaumburg Convention Center. And if people want to find out more, they can visit our website at simgamingexpo.com and hope to see you there. And thank you so much, Hugo, for having me as well. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks so much, everyone.